Hello dear students, welcome to Infinity Learn by Sri Chaitanya. This is Dr. Priyanka and today we are going to solve previous year questions from the chapter Neural Control and Coordination. मेरा favorite chapter है, hope आप सभी का भी favorite होगा, बच्चों को काफ़ी interest आता है in this chapter. And not only this chapter is important but it is interesting as well. 3 questions NEET में पूछे ही जाते हैं इस chapter से. So hope you guys are ready with high josh. So are you all with me? Let's start today's session, but before starting, don't forget to subscribe Infinity Learn NEET channel. अगर आपने अभी तक सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है तो हाय बर्दवल, गुड आफ्टरनून, होप यू आर डूइंग फाइन. फटाफट से लाइक कर दो इस सेशन को, शेयर कर दो अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ में, इनवाइट ऑल योर फ्रेंड्स. वी आर गोइंग टू कवर दिस फुल चैप्टर बेस्ड ऑन द टाइप्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस दैट वर आस्क्ड इन नीट, राइट? तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं आज का हमारा सेशन. एंड ऑल्सो you can register for NEET Infinity Learn Master class if you are preparing for NEET 22. So what will you get in this class? You will get free master classes, you will get 1 Infinity Learn test series, then you will get 2 free mock tests and 14 free previous year question paper, right? Previous year questions are important. Why? Because many questions are repeated in NEET. And even if it is not repeated, those questions could be modified and asked next year, right? So, फटाफट से जो आप रजिस्टर कर सकते हो. रजिस्टर करने के लिए you will have to go on this link that is given in the description box. Description box में आपको link मिल जाएगा. Click करके you can register for this class. Okay? So, let's start our today's session. Let's see what is the first question from this chapter. The first question is, myelin sheath is produced by, you have few options, you have 4 options, astrocytes and Schwann cells, oligodendrocytes and osteoclast. Osteoclast and astrocyte, Schwann cells and oligodendrocyte. Can you tell me what is the correct option for this question? Myelin sheath in the peripheral nervous system is produced by Schwann cells, right? But in the central nervous system it is produced by oligodendrocyte. And what is oligodendrocyte? It is the neuroglial cells. So recall neuroglial cells. Let's see what are neuroglial cells. Neuroglial cells, I will talk about the important neuroglial cells that are asked in exam, right? Astrocytes look like an asterisk, that's why it is known as astrocyte. Now this astrocyte forms the blood brain barrier. Now the second is oligodendrocyte. Okay, since it is not given in NCERT but it is still asked in exam, that's why I am discussing. So astrocytes will form the blood brain barrier. Oligodendrocytes are the one that will secrete myelin sheath in CNS. So they will secrete myelin sheath in CNS. In peripheral nervous system, just now we have discussed, Schwann cells will produce myelin sheath. The third important cell is microglial cells. Please note it down. Microglial cells, they are phagocytic in nature. So they do phagocytosis. Okay? So that was about our first question. Let's see what is the second question of our today's session. Receptor site for neurotransmitters are present on. Neurotransmitters are chemicals which are released in the synapse. So this neurotransmitter will be released in the synaptic cleft and then they will bind to the receptors that are present on the postsynaptic membrane, right? So let's see. Okay, so this is the vesicle that is filled with neurotransmitter which is released in this region, which is known as synaptic cleft, isn't it, in case of a chemical synapse, and this is the post-synaptic membrane. This is the post-synaptic membrane. Now remember, dear students, very good Bardawal. See, this is the presynaptic neuron before the synapse, and this one is the postsynaptic neuron. This membrane is known as the presynaptic membrane and this membrane is known as the postsynaptic membrane. So receptors for this neurotransmitter will be present in the postsynaptic membrane. Now let's move on to our next question. All the questions will be interesting and important. Please pay attention, dear students. Good vision depends on adequate intake of carotene rich food. Select the best option from the following statement. Vitamin A derivatives are formed from carotene. The photopigments are embedded in the membrane disc of the inner segment. Retinal is a derivative of vitamin A. Retinal is a high light absorbing part of all the visual photopigments. You will have to tell me which all statements are true. There are 4 statements, right? A, B, C and D. You have 4 options. So let's study all these statements one by one. The first statement says that vitamin A derivatives are formed from carotene. This is absolutely correct statement. Yes, this is right. Next statement says that the photopigments are embedded in the membrane disc of the inner segment. No, this is wrong. Retinal is a derivative of vitamin A. Again, this is correct. That's why it is said, na, consume vitamin A. That will improve your eyesight, right? This is the reason. Retinal is a light absorbing part of all the visual photopigments. No, there are more. Okay, so the correct option will be option B, right? Now let's move on to our next question. Before that, if you haven't liked the session and shared the session with your friends, please do it, and also subscribe for Infinity Learn NEET channel. Now choose the correct statement. Nociceptors respond to changes in pressure. These are about the receptors which are present on your sense organs. Remember, the part eye, ear and sense organs are also important in NEET, right? Usually students, they study neurons, brain, parts of brain, etc. But they leave that portion. Please don't do that. Many questions are asked from eyes, ears and other sense organs, okay? Meissner's corpuscles are thermoreceptors. Photoreceptors in the human eye are depolarized during darkness and become hyperpolarized in response to the light stimuli. Receptors do not produce graded potential. So let's see what is the correct option for this question is. You can already see it is C. Let's see why it is C. Photoreceptors in the human eye are depolarized during darkness and become hyperpolarized in response to the light stimulus. This happens through Wall's visual cycle. Okay, so this happens through Wall's visual cycle. This is how we are able to see. Now, nociceptors respond to changes in pressure? No. Meissner's corpuscles are the thermoreceptors? No. And receptors do not produce graded potential, they produce. Okay. So, correct option for this question is C. Next question. Photosensitive compound in the human eye is made up of? Still we are discussing the question of human eye. So, you can imagine So many questions are asked from this topic in NEET. Opsin and retinol, transducin and retinin, guanosine and retinol, opsin and retinol. Okay. So just now we have discussed that not only retinol is photosensitive compound, but apart from this retinol, opsin is also there. So the correct option will be D. Opsin and retinol both are the photosensitive compound which is present and helps in vision. Okay? Okay, Bhardaval? Next question. There are so many questions. We are going to discuss all the questions from this chapter. Remember, this is going to be the last session, previous year question session of class 11th. From next week onwards, we will start with the previous year questions of class 12th. So ultimately, all those who have not seen the previous lectures, please go back and see that, because we have covered all the chapters of class 11 zoology. Fine? Destruction of the anterior horn, very important question, of the spinal cord would result in loss of. Spinal cord will have anterior horn and dorsal horn. If by chance anterior horn is destroyed, what will happen? There will be loss of commissural impulses, there will be loss of integrating impulses, there will be loss of sensory impulses or voluntary motor impulses. See, anterior horn of the spinal cord is related with the motor impulses. Yes, voluntary motor impulses. Very good, Bhardaval. Right? So, if it is destroyed, what will happen? There will be loss of voluntary motor impulses. Okay? So, correct option for this question is D. In mammalian eye, the fovea centralis is the center of the visual field where only rods are present, more rods than cones are found, high density of cones occur but has no rods, and the optic nerve leaves the eye. See, the place from which optic nerve will leave the eye, that is known as blind spot, right? No image is formed there. But what is fovea centralis? It is that part of the retina in which cones are present in majority, right? So correct option will be high density of cones occur but no rods. Yes, it should be C. So the image that is formed there in the fovea will be very clear and sharp, right? Remember, cones helps in viewing in the light, that is also known as phototopic vision. Also, it helps us to differentiate between colors. C for colors. So, cones are responsible for vision in light and help us to see colors. But when we talk about rods are responsible for scotopic vision, that is vision in the dark. Okay. So if in question it is asked that in bats, the bats are more active during the night, right? So what happens in bat? Rods are more in their eyes, so they are able to see in the dark as well. Okay, so all the nocturnal animals will have more number of rods so that they can see in the dark as well. So rods are responsible for scotopic vision. Now let's move on to our next question. A gymnast is able to balance his body upside down even in the total darkness because of. That gymnast is not able to see, but still it can balance its body. Why? Because balancing is due to the vestibular apparatus present in our ears. You must have studied that ears are not only responsible for hearing, but they have vestibular apparatus that help us in balancing. So the correct option for this question will be D, vestibular apparatus. Right? Very good, Bardhaval. Very nice. Organ of corti is responsible for hearing, isn't it? It is responsible for hearing, and vestibular apparatus is responsible for balancing. Okay. Next question on your screen. Which of the following regions of the brain is incorrectly paired with its function? You have corpus callosum, communication between the left and right cerebral cortices, that is right. Cerebrum, calculation and contemplation, that is right. Medulla oblongata, homeostatic control. Now you are going to tell me what is incorrect option. And cerebellum, language comprehension. The correct option for this question will be D. Why? Because the incorrect statement. Cerebellum is not responsible for language comprehension. This region is located in the cerebral cortex or cerebrum, not cerebellum. So medulla oblongata will help in homeostasis, cerebrum will help in calculation and contemplation, and corpus callosum will help in communication between the left and the right brain. Okay. Now next question on the screen. Injury localized to the hypothalamus. Very important, hypothalamus is repeatedly asked in your exam. One important function of hypothalamus is homeostasis or temperature regulation, right? Hunger and thirst centers are also present in hypothalamus. Now here you can see short-term memory, coordination during locomotion, executive functions such as decision making, regulation of body temperature. Just now I told you that hypothalamus plays a very important role in regulation of your body temperature. So this will be the correct option. If there is any damage to the hypothalamus, what function will be affected? Temperature regulation. Okay. Next. Which one of the following statements is not correct? Not को ध्यान से देखो, not नहीं पढ़ा तो सारे statements आप गलत कर दोगे, right? नीट एग्जाम में हमेशा बहुत बार बच्चों ने ऐसा किया है कि not incorrect जो है वो ठीक से नहीं पढ़ा, as a result क्या हो गया, उन्होंने wrong answer mark कर दिया. आपको वो गलती नहीं करनी है. Retinal is the light absorbing portion of visual photopigment. In retina, the rods have the photopigment rhodopsin, while cones have 3 different photopigments. Retinal is derivative of vitamin C. मिल गया आपको? Yes. The wrong statement is this one. Why? Because retinal is derivative of vitamin A and not C. Right? Rhodopsin is the purplish red protein present in rods only. Yes, rhodopsin is present in rods. That is correct. Now, the most abundant intracellular cation is, you have H+, K+, Na+ and calcium ions. सेल के अंदर पाए जाने वाला सबसे abundant ion कौन सा है? So the correct option will be potassium. So if they are asking about intracellular ion that is most abundant, then your answer will be potassium. If they are asking about extracellular ion that is most abundant, then your answer will be sodium. Understood? Yes, very good. B is the correct option because potassium will be present in abundance. The human hind brain comprises 3 parts, one of which is, human hind brain will consist of pons, medulla and cerebellum. So the correct option will be cerebellum. Not spinal cord, not corpus callosum, not hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the part of forebrain, right? Next question. Which part of the human ear plays no role in hearing as such but otherwise very much required? Just now we have discussed, is it eustachian tube? What is function of eustachian tube? Our eustachian tube connects our pharynx to the middle ear. And why it is there? To equalize the pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane, right? Now, आपके ईयर ड्रम के दोनों तरफ प्रेशर को इक्वलाइज करने के लिए द मिडल ईयर इज कनेक्टेड टू द फेरिंग्स सो दैट देयर इज एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर ऑन बोथ साइड ऑफ द ईयर ड्रम बिकॉज इट इज अ डेलिकेट मेम्ब्रेन, राइट? eustachian tube is not a part of ear. Organ of Corti, it is there in ear but it is responsible for hearing. यहाँ पर पूछा है कि कौन सा hearing में help नहीं करेगा. Vestibular apparatus will be the answer. Vestibular apparatus is a part of ear and it helps in balancing. It will help in balancing, right? So this will be the answer of this question. Ear ossicles, 3 bones हैं and all 3 bones are responsible for hearing, right? Okay. When a neuron is in resting state, that is not conducting any impulse, the axonal membrane is. These lines are taken from NCERT and as it is question is asked. Okay. So during resting stage, our membrane is relatively impermeable to sodium ions and permeable to potassium ions. This is a previous year question and many times it is asked. So what happens during depolarization? As the impulse reaches our axon, जैसे ही हमारा impulse axon के पास पहुंचता है, the axon membrane will become permeable to sodium ions. Influx of sodium ions होता है जिसके वजह से there is depolarization, right? ये भी एक नीट का क्वेश्चन है. Now यहाँ पर पूछा है resting stage पे क्या होता है, तो resting stage पे our membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ions and nearly impermeable to sodium ions. Very good. Star question, NEET bomber question of today's session. If you have any doubts, please let me know. The nerve center which control the body temperature and the urge for eating are contained in. Okay. So the correct option will be hypothalamus, which is a part of forebrain. Hypothalamus का काम होता है to regulate the body temperature and hunger and satiety centers are also present in the hypothalamus. So correct option क्या होगा यहाँ पर? Hypothalamus, right? कितनी बार hypothalamus पूछा गया? You should know the important functions of hypothalamus. It is also a part of limbic system. Limbic system का भी part है hypothalamus. And limbic system क्या है? It is also known as emotional brain. राइट सारे इमोशंस आपके बॉडी में कौन रेगुलेट करता है? आपका लिम्बिक सिस्टम. ओके. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. अल्जाइमर्स डिजीज इन ह्यूमंस इज एसोसिएटेड विद द डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ. अल्जाइमर्स डिजीज, राइट? क्या होता है अल्जाइमर्स डिजीज? यस, एमिगडाला. वेरी गुड बारदवल. अल्जाइमर्स डिजीज में देयर इज मेमोरी लॉस ड्यूरिंग ओल्ड एज. ओके. नाउ हाउ आई रिमेंबर, मुझे कैसे याद रहता है? ये न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर का नाम A फॉर A, राइट? अल्जाइमर्स में क्या होता है? दैट इज डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ एसिटाइल कोलिन इन द बॉडी. सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन विल बी एसिटाइल कोलिन. इसी तरह से पार्किंसंस के लिए भी पूछा जाता है दैट डेफिशिएंसी ऑफ विच न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर विल लीड टू पार्किंसंस. योर आंसर विल बी डोपामिन, राइट? तो यहां पर द करेक्ट ऑप्शन विल बी एसिटाइल कोलिन. एसिटाइल कोलिन के डेफिशिएंसी से देयर विल बी अल्जाइमर्स डिजीज. ओके. Which part of human brain is concerned with the regulation of body temperature? See how many times this is asked. So whenever we talk about previous year questions and neural control and coordination, the first question that comes in my mind is hypothalamus. Everything related to hypothalamus will be asked. Okay. इसके अलावा ears, eyes से भी बहुत questions पूछे जाते हैं and nerve impulse transmission से भी काफी questions पूछे जाते हैं. तो यहाँ पे correct option will be hypothalamus without any confusion. Cornea transplant. Cornea के बारे में बता दूं. Cornea is the first organ to be transplanted. Okay, and it is never rejected. Our body's defense mechanism usually fights against any transplant. कोई भी दूसरा ऑर्गन अगर आपके बॉडी में इंट्रोड्यूस किया जाता है, योर बॉडी विल टेक इट एज अ फॉरेन ऑब्जेक्ट एंड विल स्टार्ट डिफेंडिंग, विल स्टार्ट प्रोड्यूसिंग एंटीबॉडीज अगेंस्ट दैट ऑर्गन, राइट? दिस इज नोन एज ऑर्गन रिजेक्शन. बट कॉर्निया में ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती है. वाई? टेल मी इन द चैट, वाई देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम व्हेन देयर इज कॉर्निया ट्रांसप्लांट? द करेक्ट ऑप्शन इज इट हैज नो blood supply. It has no blood supply, because of which the probability of organ rejection will become very, very low. And this was the first organ that was transplanted successfully. Okay? Next question. During the propagation of nerve impulse, the action potential result from the movement of. Now here we are talking about transmission of nerve impulse. Let's see how it is conducted. Correct option is B, you can see, but how? I'll tell you. If this is our axon, the fluid which is inside this axon will be known as axonal fluid, okay, or exoplasm. The fluid that is present outside this axon is known as extracellular fluid or ECF. Now this membrane during resting stage is relatively permeable to potassium ions and impermeable to sodium ions. And also in this membrane, sodium potassium pump is running. What is running? Sodium potassium pump. So because of this sodium potassium pump, 3 sodium is pushed outwards and 2 potassium ions will be pushed inside. So can you see, ये सोडियम पोटेशियम पंप क्या करेगा? 3 सोडियम को बाहर डाल रहा है एंड 2 पोटेशियम आयन को अंदर ले रहा है इनसाइड द एक्सोप्लाज्म. सो यू कैन सी द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ चार्जेस. बाहर की तरफ देयर इज मोर पॉजिटिव आयंस. सिमिलरली इन द एक्सोप्लाज्म देयर विल बी मोर नेगेटिवली चार्ज प्रोटीन्स. सो अंदर देयर इज मोर नेगेटिवली चार्ज प्रोटीन्स. Because of which what will happen? The charges will be distributed like more positive charge on the outside of the exolemma and less positive charge in the inside of the exolemma. बाहर की तरफ हो जाएगा positive charge, अंदर की तरफ हो जाएगा negative charge. Let's draw it. Right? So the charge distribution will be like this. इसका मतलब क्या होगा? There will be a potential difference across this membrane which is known as resting membrane potential, क्योंकि हमारा axon अभी क्या है? Resting stage पे है. Fine. Now problem कब शुरू होती है? When there is arrival of any impulse. जैसे ही ये impulse यहाँ पर पहुंचेगा, क्या होगा? The sodium ions that were there outside in the ECF, they will come inside. Why? Because now our membrane is permeable to sodium ions. मतलब जैसे ही ये impulse पहुंचेगा, permeability for sodium will increase. Why? Because the channels are voltage gated. So there will be immediate influx of sodium ions inside the exoplasm. बहुत सारे सोडियम आयंस, पॉजिटिवली चार्ज सोडियम आयंस जब अंदर आ जाएंगे तो क्या होगा? अंदर की तरफ पोलैरिटी चेंज हो जाएगी. नाउ देयर विल बी मोर पॉजिटिव आयंस ऑन द इनसाइड ऑफ आवर एक्सोलेमा एंड less positive ions on the outside of exolemma, and this is termed as depolarization. Right? तो यहां पर करेक्ट ऑप्शन क्या होगा? क्या पूछा था? During the propagation of nerve impulse, the action potential result from the movement of action potential कैसे develop होगा? क्योंकि there will be sodium ions influx. Extracellular fluid में जो sodium ions थे, they will come inside in the intracellular fluid. Understood? Now this concept is asked repeatedly in NEET. Okay? Next question. Bowman's gland are located in. They are asking about Bowman's gland and not Bowman's capsule. Kidney मत करके आना. Okay, uriniferous tubule मत करके आना. Bowman's gland is located in the olfactory epithelium of nose. Okay, it is present in the olfactory epithelium of nose, and olfactory epithelium is related to olfaction. Olfaction means smell. Okay. Same question. Which one of the following does not act as a neurotransmitter? They are asking कौन सा neurotransmitter नहीं है? Cortisone, acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Obviously, the answer will be cortisone. क्या है cortisone? It is a glucocorticoid. Released from adrenal gland, that to adrenal cortex. Okay, so the correct option was cortisone. इसके अलावा जो भी आपको यहाँ पर नजर आ रहा है, acetylcholine, epinephrine and norepinephrine, all these are neurotransmitters. Next question. Which one of the following is the example of the action of the autonomous nervous system? Swallowing of food, pupillary reflex, peristalsis of intestine and knee jerk response. ये सारे फंक्शंस में से कौन सा फंक्शन ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम ANS के कंट्रोल में है? ओके, नाउ ऑटोनॉमस नर्वस सिस्टम इज इनवॉलेंट्री, वर्किंग is not under our will. Now swallowing of food is a reflex action. Pupillary reflex is again a reflex action. Knee jerk response is again a reflex action. It is not under the control of autonomic nervous system. Recall, what is reflex action? Sudden involuntary response to a noxious stimuli by our body. Sudden रिस्पॉन्स जो होता है हमारे बॉडी का टू एनी हार्मफुल स्टिमुलाई, उसे हम रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन बोलते हैं. रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होता है स्पाइनल कॉर्ड एंड ब्रेन स्टेम ऑफ योर ब्रेन, नॉट होल ब्रेन. राइट, यहां पर दे आर आस्किंग अबाउट ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम, सो द करेक्ट ऑप्शन विल बी पेरिस्टाल्सिस ऑफ द इंटेस्टाइन. इट इज इनर्वेटेड बाय आवर ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम. फाइन. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. In a man, abducens nerve is injured. Which one of the following function will be affected? Abducens nerve का क्या काम है? It innervates our eyeball. Eyeball के movement से related है abducens nerve. तो यहाँ पर पूछा है which of the following functions will be affected? If there is any damage to the abducens nerve, there will be problem in the movement of the eyeball. Okay, this question just now I have discussed. Now they are asking Parkinson's disease is characterized by tremors. Yes, in the old age, whenever there is deficiency of certain neurotransmitters in the body, there will be tremors and progressive rigidity of limbs. It is caused by degeneration of brain neurons that are involved in the movement control and make use of neurotransmitter. So basically there will be deficiency of a particular neurotransmitter जिसके वजह से ये disease होती है. Just now we have seen the correct option will be dopamine. It will be dopamine. Remember acetylcholine में जब deficiency होगा या हमारे body में जब भी acetylcholine neurotransmitter कम होगा, what will happen? There will be development of Alzheimer's disease, and whenever there is deficiency of dopamine neurotransmitter, it will lead to Parkinson's disease. Okay? Next question. In the resting stage of the neural membrane, diffusion due to concentration gradient, if allowed, would have. Now this if allowed is important. Normally it is not there, but allow किया तो क्या होगा at the time of resting stage? किस डायरेक्शन में कौन सा आयन जाएगा? Let's understand. A option, K plus into the cell, K plus and sodium out of the cell, sodium ions into the cell and sodium ions out of the cell. Here we are discussing what is diffusion, movement of ion from higher concentration to lower concentration. So where there is more concentration of sodium, where there is more potassium ion concentration, from there the ions will diffuse to the area where there is low concentration. So the correct option for this question will be C. Now why C? Why C? We have studied that our exolemma is relatively impermeable to sodium ions. Very good, Bardhaval. Our exolemma is relatively impermeable to sodium ions, though there are more number of sodium ions in the ECF. Why? Because of this sodium potassium pump. 3 सोडियम बाहर भेज रहा है, 2 पोटेशियम अंदर ले रहा है, तो अल्टीमेटली बाहर सोडियम आयंस का कॉन्सेंट्रेशन बढ़ रहा है इन आउटसाइड द एक्सोलेमा. इफ अलाउड, दो हमारा मेम्ब्रेन तो इम्परमिएबल है सोडियम आयंस के लिए, तो जो सोडियम आयन बाहर जा रहा है वो अंदर नहीं आ पाएगा. ओके, लेट्स सी हाउ. अगेन this is my axon. Sodium potassium pump is running here. Okay, 3 सोडियम को ये बाहर भेज रहा है, ये सोडियम पोटेशियम पंप, एंड 2 पोटेशियम को अंदर ले रहा है. फाइन. So ultimately you can see there are more sodium ions on the outside in the ECF, but this sodium ions cannot come inside. No, because our membrane is impermeable. और permeability is very less for sodium. But if allowed, ज़्यादा सोडियम बाहर है, कम सोडियम अंदर है, अगर अलाउ किया गया तो ऑब्वियसली ड्यू टू डिफ्यूजन ये जो सोडियम आयंस है वो अंदर आ जाएंगे. राइट? सो करेक्ट ऑप्शन फॉर दिस क्वेश्चन विल बी सी. लेट्स मूव ऑन टू आवर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Injury to vagus nerve in humans is not likely to affect. पहले तो ये समझते हैं that what is vagus nerve. Vagus nerve is the cranial nerve. It is the longest cranial nerve and it is the only cranial nerve that will leave your head and neck region and will reach your thorax and abdominal region. इसलिए इसको wanderer nerve भी बोला जाता है because it is the longest nerve. Okay, and this nerve will leave the head neck region and will reach your abdominal region and thoracic region. So injury हो जाता है वेगस नर्व में तो कौन सा एक्शन अफेक्ट नहीं होगा? नॉट tongue movement, obviously tongue movement that is not controlled by our vagus nerve. Gastrointestinal movement would be affected. Pancreatic secretion would be affected. Cardiac movement would be affected. What will not be affected? Your tongue movement. Okay. Next. What used to be described as Nissel's granule in nerve cell are also now identified as. Nissel's granules हम पढ़ते हैं which is a part of your neuron, cyton, cell body में होता है Nissel's granule, and हमें पता है अभी कि those are rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, these are RER. Rough endoplasmic reticulum के साथ में क्या होता है? There is ribosome. So correct option for this question will be ribosome. Which of the following statement is correct for nodes of Ranvier of nerve? Question is, neurolemma is discontinuous, myelin sheath is discontinuous. Both neurolemma and myelin sheath are discontinuous, covered by myelin sheath. Okay, पहले तो ये समझते हैं node of Ranvier होता क्या है, ठीक है? So let's draw it. Again, if this is my axon, okay, there will be a covering of myelin sheath, and the region from which this covering of myelin sheath is absent, that part is known as nodes of Ranvier, isn't it? Okay, so this part is known as nodes of Ranvier, right? What is this? This is myelin sheath, which is made up of lipid, and this is my axon, and the membrane of my axon, outside my axon, will be neurolemma. Okay, so this is neurolemma. So neurolemma to hoga. What will not be there? Myelin sheath. Remember, there are Schwann cells as well that will secrete the myelin sheath. Okay, so correct option for this question will be myelin sheath is discontinuous. Neurolemma to hoga, myelin sheath यहाँ पर discontinuous होता है. And your action potential or your nerve impulse will jump from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier. This is known as what? Saltatory conduction. Okay, that is known as saltatory conduction. Fine. Achha, one more point you should remember for NEET, that is Schwann cells will always be present, whether it is myelinated nerve fiber or non-myelinated nerve fiber. चाहे myelin sheath produce कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा है, Schwann cells will be there, okay, in all type of neurons. Next question. When we migrate from dark to light, we fail to see for some time. आपके साथ भी हुआ होगा, अंधेरे कमरे से एकदम से किसी ने लाइट ऑन कर दिया या आप बाहर चले गए, आपको थोड़े टाइम तक तो नजर ही नहीं आता है क्या चल रहा है, राइट? क्यों होता है ये? बट थोड़े टाइम में हमें दिखने लगता है. And why? And what is this phenomena known as? This is known as accommodation. This is known as accommodation. Okay, not photoperiodism, not mutation, and not adaptation. Okay, so that was it, dear students. Hope you all have enjoyed this session. Okay, and this was very informative session as well, as we have covered so many previous year questions from all parts of this chapter, right? So now you can also register if you are preparing for NEET 22. अगर आप NEET 22 के लिए prepare कर रहे हैं, then you can join our NEET 2022 Rank Assurance Ultimate Package. Okay, you can just go to this website infinitylearn.com/NEET. वहाँ पर जाके आप इस प्रोग्राम के लिए रजिस्टर कर सकते हो. ये प्रोग्राम बहुत ही यूजफुल होगा आप सभी के लिए. इस प्रोग्राम में आपको मिलेगा लाइव क्लासेस. NEET 22 Rank Assurance Program. Live classes will be there. There will be self-learning videos by which you can revise all your chapters for NEET. There will be self-learning flashcards that will help you to retain the information, whatever is asked in NEET. Adaptive practice, rank assurance program, daily test also you will get. See how beneficial. Rank assurance program test series. Okay, you will get a test series as well, so that you can see whether your preparation is going on the right track or not, and yes, doubts also you can ask. So this is a very beneficial program for all those students who are preparing for NEET 22. Okay, dear students, that was all for today. Please don't forget to join our Telegram channel. You can find the link in the description box. Also, you can just type Infinity Learn NEET and you will get our Telegram channel. You can join that. There you will get assignments, notes and daily updates. And finally, don't forget to like and share this session and subscribe our Infinity Learn channel अगर आपने नहीं सब्सक्राइब किया है तो. That was all, dear students. Take care. Bye bye. See you in the next class.